Hey, Pac-12 Pate. Thank you, Bob. He said, do you have thoughts on the Dan Lanning to Auburn rumors? Yes, I do. These, unbeknownst to me, had started to circulate the last few days. Now, I say unbeknownst to me because I have just kind of resigned myself that no moves are about to be made in these coaching searches until after rivalry Saturday. And I'm talking about Nebraska. Like there was a lot of smoke out of Nebraska the past 48 hours. They're not making a hire yet, unless it's Matt Rule, because you're not waiting on Matt Rule. And, I think that name has traction up there. But this is not about Nebraska. This is about Oregon and Auburn. Dan Lanning's not going to Auburn. So let me repeat that for you one more time. Dan Lanning's not going to Auburn. And I could have told you that before yesterday, but then he had a press conference last night, and he told you that pretty emphatically. He had some good quotes. I think what he said about the grass and how green it can be in Eugene, if that's not already on a bunch of T-shirts up there, if someone is not already shamelessly profiting, Kenny, I'm looking at you in the equipment room there, if someone's not already shamelessly profiting off that, they have missed the boat. Because that was a money quote. And I don't know if he rehearsed it or not. I don't blame him if he did. But that was a good quote. Look, I told a buddy this earlier today. They asked me, or he asked me, hey, what about these Lanning rumors? And I said, you're not getting Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning's the head coach at Oregon, for those unfamiliar. You're not getting Dan Lanning. He said, well, why? The message boards say this and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm just telling you I don't think that's going to happen. And Dan Lanning said it last night. He said, oh, that's not a denial. I said, it's a denial. He's not going. He's not coming to Auburn. So move on from that is my advice. But for my buddy, we'll call him Tom because that's his name. Tom earlier today, he said to me, that's what you said about Mario too. And that's when I dropped the pen. See, because I try and be nice in these exchanges. But then when someone plays the Mario card, then I have to get a little testy with them. And a refresher course for those of you who have not been around here all that long, I was fairly emphatic that I did not think Mario Cristobal was going to leave Oregon for Miami. Then Mario Cristobal left Oregon for Miami, then came on the show and explained why he did it, by the way. And so I just whiffed on that one. I got it wrong. I measured the situations, and even having assessed it, I thought that the quality of the job at Oregon and what they were building up there, I thought was going to make him want to stick around. I just undervalued his attachment to home. That's the long and short of it. There was no the hidden agenda or anything like that. But that's my point to Tom and anyone else. When you're talking about the fact that Mario Cristobal left Oregon, yeah, Mario left Oregon. For what? For Miami. It was the most special circumstance imaginable. Dan Lanning didn't play at Auburn. He didn't grow up in Auburn. So there is no special attachment there. And I know both of these programs fairly well. Within this season, I have been inside both of these programs. Auburn, I think, is a job that is rapidly elevating, and I'm about to talk about that in a second. I talked about it the other night. Oregon's there, though. And I was out there a few weeks ago and talked to a lot of those guys and toured the facilities, but I got a feel of the investment out there. It's very SEC-esque. I know a lot of my Southern brethren scoff at that, but I'm serious about it. I'm not saying that permeates up and down the West Coast, but I'm saying there in Eugene, Oregon, they've got that, and you have a special circumstance of your own. His name is Phil Knight. Imagine the blessing of having a multi-billionaire associated with your program whose sole purpose recreationally at this point in his life is seeing Oregon win a national championship. And when I was up there, I asked everyone in that building, what's it like interacting with Phil Knight? Everyone spoke glowingly, as they tend to do when you have a billionaire around with an open checkbook. But they said, no, for real. Phil's great because he does whatever is needed financially, but he's hands off. He doesn't meddle in the program. So that's the best of both worlds. They invest and invest and invest. They have great attention to detail up there. It's like a culture that was plucked out of another part of the country, and it just so happens to have been dropped in Oregon. Normally, that would screw you in recruiting, but because they have the Nike attachment and the brand visibility, it doesn't. They are equipped more so, maybe outside of the USC brand, than anyone west of the Mississippi River, the Rockies, to recruit nationally. I tell the story all the time. They got a kid out there named Triquez Bridges right now from Lynette, Alabama. Triquez Bridges knew about Auburn, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and he knew about Oregon. That's a kid growing up in rural East Alabama. Why does he know about Oregon? Because the branding is unique and it permeates nationally. So anyway, Lanny's got all that going for him up there. Oregon's a really good job. It's a superb job. Having said that, Oregon's going to get them, or Auburn rather, Auburn's going to get themselves a quality candidate. It ain't going to be Dan Lanning, but Auburn's going to get themselves a quality candidate because someone is going to get sold on what that job's becoming. If you want to question it right now, you can, because it's been a mess. Behind the scenes and out front, it's been a mess. What I am humbly suggesting about the Auburn job is 5 years from now, and that's what you should be investing in if you're taking the job. 2 years from now, not 5, 2 or 3 years from now, they've got a huge NIL reservoir built up that will be contributed to more and more if the folks with the deep pockets get the coach they want. They've got new facilities about to open up, which have been badly needed. I don't care how big your scoreboard is. I care about how comparable your facilities are. There's no functionality in a scoreboard. There's a lot of functionality in how many hot cold tubs you have. They are going to eventually rid themselves of Nick Saban. They are eventually going to get a more favorable schedule down there. And I think that they can be a very attractive destination in the transfer portal if you've got a coach kids want to play for, because they're going to be able to play the NIL game. Now, the right head coach is going to see that and say, I can do something there that no one's been able to do because no one's had access to all of what I could have access to. So they're going to be fine. They're going to, if they don't screw it up, which has happened before. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, but if they don't screw it up, they can get themselves a really good candidate. I just don't think it's going to be Dan Lanning. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.